Step into a world of romance and mystery with Tamora Rose. There's something magical about the moment inspiration strikes. That first spark of a story that pulls you in so completely, you can almost hear the whisper of your characters. But there's also something deeply vulnerable about putting that story into the world and letting others look at it. Today, we're diving into a topic that every writer, especially those of us who breathe love, passion, and a touch of the supernatural, will eventually face. Taking advice from others about your writing. Because let's be honest, sometimes the hardest part of being a writer isn't writing the story, it's hearing what other people think about it. I talk to other writers a lot, probably 2 or 3 hours a day. Aspiring writers, seasoned pros, even editors and agents, the whole fascinating caffeine-fueled ecosystem that is the writing world. These are the people I talk to. And most of the time I love it. Writers are some of the most passionate, eccentric, brilliant people you've ever met. But every now and then, I stumble into a conversation that makes me want to close my laptop and pour myself a glass of wine and go into a quiet cottage with no Wi-Fi. Because there's one particular kind of writer who can drive you to madness. The one who asks for advice but doesn't actually want it. They'll post their opening chapter in a group or send it to a critique partner, and when someone gently points out an issue, maybe the pacing is off, or the dialogue sounds a little stiff, they'll immediately defend every word like it's sacred scripture. I've seen it happen with agents too. An agent might say, "This manuscript is just too long for your genre." Or an editor might note, "This conversation feels a little bit trite." And instead of listening, the writer digs in. "Well, I just don't get my vision." Here's the truth. If you want to be published, if you want people to read what you've written, or even if you just want to improve your craft, you have to learn to take advice. Confidence is essential. You need it to face rejection and to send out query letters and to finish that 5th draft when you're sure you've written complete nonsense. But there's a fine, fragile line between confidence and arrogance. And that is usually drawn in bright red pen. The most successful authors I know, both in historical and in paranormal romance, have one thing in common. They're always learning. They could be 10 books deep into a best-selling career and still open their manuscript and think, this scene could be a little tighter. Taking advice doesn't mean surrendering your artistic vision. It means refining it. It's like cutting a gemstone. Your raw idea might shine in the dark, but polishing it, that's what makes it catch the light. And when the advice comes from someone who's been in the trenches, an editor or a publisher or even another author who's navigated the same storytelling storms, you want to listen. Not because they're always right, but because they've already stepped on the landmines that you're walking towards. Now, let's be fair, not all advice is good advice. We've all met the critic who just wants to rewrite your book in their own voice, or the beta reader who confuses personal taste with objective truth. The key is to look for patterns. If 3 different readers tell you that your middle feels slow, there's probably something to that. If one person tells you to change your heroine's name because it reminds them of their ex, well, you can probably ignore that one and move on with your day. Good advice doesn't demand obedience. It invites reflection. It should make you think, not panic. So when you get feedback, instead of reacting immediately, take a breath. Walk away for a day. Light a candle. Then come back and ask yourself, is this advice trying to make the story more authentic? or just more like someone else's version of what that story should be. If it's the first one, listen closely. That's gold. If it's the second, well, you can trust your instincts and just move on. I've been writing for a long time, and I've yet to meet an author whose first draft didn't change, sometimes dramatically, before reaching the finish line. Every book I've ever written has evolved between the first spark and the final copy edit. And honestly, thank the muses for that. The stories that linger, the ones that readers remember, are born from humility and persistence. Every no from an agent, every editorial comment that stings a little is shaping you. They're not insults. They're invitations to rise. If you absolutely refuse to accept advice, then don't be surprised when the rejections keep coming. At that point, you're not an artist protecting your vision. You're a gardener refusing to water the roses. Frame those rejection letters if you have to. Call them your badges of stubbornness. But then, sit back down and ask what they're trying to teach you. Because they are trying to teach you something. Think of the advice as the alchemy of writing. Someone hands you a lump of criticism and you transmute it through patience and humility and a little creative magic into something golden. Sometimes that gold takes the form of a cleaner chapter, a sharper line of dialogue, or a scene that suddenly feels right. Other times it just reminds you to keep your ego in check and your curiosity alive. Every time we let ourselves be shaped by thoughtful advice, we grow stronger, braver, and more capable of telling the stories that haunt our hearts. And isn't that what we're here for? To create worlds that make people feel something real? Love or fear or longing, hope, and maybe leave them just a little bit changed? That's it for today. Tell me in the comments, what's the best or worst piece of writing advice you've ever received? I'd love to hear your stories. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with passion and just a little bit of magic.